Well, good evening, race fans, and a very warm welcome back to Aero League Racing's Monday Tier 1 top of the pile. These are the very best drivers we have in GT7, and we are about to be underway for their first qualifying session in around 15 seconds time. The cars will take to the track, and I will take you through our next our standings very shortly. And my name is Webbo. I'm here to give you the commentary tonight as usual, and I will be there with you just in a second as we see the cars just heading out onto track. We're in Fuji tonight, but Fuji without the chicane at turns 11 and 12. We will still refer to turn 10 as turn 10, the Dunlop corner, but we will skip 2 numbers, and the number following turn 10 will actually be turn 13, just to hold reference points for everybody else. Hello to Aman and to, of course, RDO. ALR says, RDO says that lap times are going to be so slow because of the wind. We've got a 3.2 meters per second headwind going down the main straight. That's going to really slow the cars down, and they're all in a hurry to get going. Actually, Mighty Iggy leads the standings after a double win last week, and he's on 170 points. With 17 further back is currently BR4 in the Mustang. Then the erstwhile joint leader Sick Boy is actually in 3rd position after a really disappointing 2 results from last week by his high standards. He is on 141 points. Then comes Mackey's on 139, JoeRoyle on 119, and then no one is anywhere near 3 digits. Simon is on 64, Mr. Berserk on 51, RDO 47, very tight in the midfield with Knobles in on 42 points. Blue Mosquito is in the final place of the top 10 in 34 points. So you can see the cars just positioning themselves for their first flying lap, and let's make sure that we join a driver actually on a lap right now, and that is JoeRoyle. So he will get the benefit of the first lap on screen while I scramble for my constructor standings. So beautifully prepared by RDO for me. That tells us that the Ford Mustang team of BR4 and Moosh are actually on the top of the tree on 187 currently, but only 6 back is Mercedes-Benz, Knobles and Sick Boy on 181. And then we've got Iggy and Alex's Dodge team on 178, the Z4 team, the BMW Z4 team on 149, the Lexus we ride with right now on 137, then comes Aston Martin on 115, then a long way back the VW, Hyundai, the BMW M3, and finally the Peugeot of the very unpopular car, the RCZ on 26 points, but they've barely raced, so we won't hold that against them too much. But we're on track, we're underway. This is the turn 10 where normally the cars would be turning right. In fact, Joe almost oversteered into turn 11, but this is now turn 13, in fact, before we go into the very difficult final sector of the racetrack. The of course the left, right switchbacks, almost hairpins. This one turns into almost a hairpin at the very end, and there you can see just behind El Trocker, actually it is, not JoeRoyle. El Trocker is one of the Vipers, getting very cross behind him. That's Iggy, actually wanting that position on track. I think he's trying to get a slipstream. You can see already that as he crosses the line, Iggy did manage to get a slipstream and beat out El Trocker, who's deposed down to 3rd and 4th by BR4 and then JoeRoyle. Sick Boy is about to cross the line on 3rd place. Then we have Simon just coming up to the line. He's down in 6th place. Knobles crosses the line in 7th. Pornage Town in 8th. David Sobrero is coming into the pits, actually, oddly enough, having just done an installation lap, wants a change of tyre. We've got medium tyres here on RDO's car, and that's a P7. I forgot to check everybody's tyres, actually, as they are finishing off their laps. There is David Sobrero's car. There is Misco. We've got Mr. Berserk about to finish his lap as well, but it's Iggy on top at the moment. Mr. Berserk only good enough for, well, he's just starting for P13. Nismo is on an out lap as well. So let's go on to our provisional pole sitter. That is Iggy. They've had about almost half the qualifying session already. Crazy stuff to see. And a 33.9 is a nice time for Iggy. He's on soft tyres though, and there's a fair amount of talk that the soft tyres may well not run the entire sprint race of 15-minute duration. So should be really interesting to see what the drivers can do. This is Iggy coming through the final corner now. You can see the Bridgestone little side road covering there on the left before he powers on down the straight. There's those penalty marker there. That's where the drivers will take any penalties if they pick them up. But reaching close to VMAX now is Iggy on a 33.7, drops the bar further, in fact, and BR4 goes a PB, but not good enough, getting the slipstream behind. I think that was El Trocker or JoeRoyle. That was probably El Trocker. Sick Boy crosses the line, gets into P3 with a lap that is 9/10 away from Iggy, but he is on the medium tyres. Sick Boy could well be in a good place for this race. Knobles stays 5th. Simon K likewise stays in 6th place. El Trocker is on a lap though, and he's hoping to try and catch the guy in front here. I think that was El Trocker just on an in lap now, potentially, unless he plans to run the whole session on a single set of soft tyres. That is perfectly possible, of course. So what's happening next? We are waiting on Rainbow Energy to turn up, and hopefully he'll be with us shortly. He needs to go and buy some rain tyres because we may be expecting some rain. RDO somewhat surprised there by, I don't know if he's surprised by his own time potentially, but RDO, you're going to have to be a little bit more specific than simply writing whoa in the live chat. But a good time from Iggy, already reminder that Iggy is on top at this current stage. Blue Mosquito has got a PB sector 1 at this stage from P10 here. Blue Mosquito racing, I believe he's in the Genesis, but I will correct myself if that's wrong. His fastest lap of 36.865 and a personal best in the 2nd sector as well. We see that Iggy is in the pits and will need to get a move on if he wants to run the rest of this session. It's a very long lap here, of course, around Fuji, and they only have 10 minutes to make their lap count. Here is Blue Mosquito with 1 corner left to go. Can he personal best this entire run and beat his current time, which is only good enough for P11, some 3 seconds off the lead lap speed currently. So Blue Mosquito, no benefit of a tow in front, unfortunately, and that headwind really strong on the cars down the straight here, and up to P9 goes Blue Mosquito with a nice early lap there. Simon K's coming to the pits. I think, is that Nismo? Is he running a different strategy? He's on soft tyres, and thankfully the Vantage gets out of his way. But it looked a little bit rough over the penultimate corner, turn 15, and through 16 he goes. That's the Panasonic corner for obvious reasons, which you'll catch on the infield through the corner. Somewhat delayed upshift to 5th potentially for Nismo. Gets himself up into 6th place, but this is now going to be his hot lap, I believe, and I haven't even looked at his livery yet for Nismo. I haven't seen him racing with us in one of the rounds that I've had the pleasure of tackling just yet. This is turn 1 into turn 2, which is just an acceleration zone. We go down into the dip, up again into the crest. A PB for Nismo from 9th place currently, and getting through the corners quite tidily so far. This turn 4 and 5, the 100R, is devilishly difficult, especially on low grip conditions, and when it rains in Fuji, it really rains, and the drivers are going to be all over the place on wet conditions. When you hit down into these heavy braking zones, this one up on its way turn 10, also into turn 3, where there is a compression in the racetrack, you do get massive standing water and the cars will drift super wide. Nismo then is going to be around the point of finishing off his lap. We've got just over 1 minute to go, so pretty much everyone crossing the line in the next few seconds, this will be their hot lap, the one that will make the difference here for the starting order, of course, of the sprint race only, because we go for one-shot qualifying in the for the feature race. We'll see Nismo's time as he comes to cross the line. The wind changing direction to a westerly currently at this juncture. But from 9th place, Nismo goes to cross the line. Will he improve his position? He goes up to P7. Very nice indeed. So Iggy is on track. We've got BR4 behind Iggy. And BR4, I can't get an update on his time, unfortunately. Let's ride with Iggy then, who's got the Mercedes of Sick Boy ahead of him, the AMG in the orange gold colour scheme. He'll be looking for a... in fact, that's Knobles, excuse me. So Knobles, he'll be looking for a tow down the main straight. Iggy's been incredibly wily here, making sure he gets tucked up behind another driver and can live with the difficulties of grip through the faster stuff to try and get this tow. It's not huge though. His top speed is lower than the AMG as he goes to cross the line. That is no quicker for Iggy. What about for BR4 then? Can he get himself up? He does. He gets provisional pole. BR4 onto the top of the standings currently. And JoeRoyle, without the benefit of a tow in front of him, JoeRoyle is about to cross the line. This is the end of qualifying. These are the final laps now. JoeRoyle will not improve. Sick Boy is in the gravel, also will not improve at this stage. David Sobrero showed incredibly well last week, despite many complaints over the need to use the RCZ. Let's see if he can find his way up towards any further than 5th currently racing here in the Peugeot team. David Sobrero, no improvement. We'll ride then with Mr. Berserk. Is that Nismo about to... Nismo's got a 3-second penalty. That's not going to do any difference. So heading to the line then in the distinctively dashboarded Beetle comes Mr. Berserk. We'll wait for confirmation as he comes towards the line. He's currently 1.5 seconds off the pace, and it's not good enough, unfortunately. Knobles is all over the road, so I'm just trying to find any remaining drivers finishing off their lap. We've got one more just crossing. That's Pornage Town here. Pornage Town, he's on a PB currently. He's in P13, heading towards the line. Hi to Tonya, who joins us as well. Good to have you with us, Tonya. And Aman, who are you supporting here tonight? Rainbow Energy wasn't able to get a better time on the board, and I think that might be everybody done and dusted, is it? Make sure I get my camera angle correct for the race, because it comes at me very quickly. But it looks to be then your starting order will be BR4 from Iggy, JoeRoyle, Sick Boy, David Sobrero, Mr. Berserk, Knobles, and Simon K, the top 8. So, good stuff here. Great competitive qualifying, as always. And we're almost ready to get underway. It's BR4 on the outside entry to the first corner, and it's Iggy on the inside. Iggy leading this championship from BR4. BR4, though, for Mustang, leading the Constructors' Championship. So it is all to play for as we build the revs, we build the excitement. The 5 lights are on. Get ready. And it's dropped the clutch and go. I saw a possible jump start in the background, but let's ignore that for now as Mighty Iggy gets ahead immediately from BR4. straight off the line, and Sick Boy looking for the inside line into turn 1. BR4 sweeps down the outside, makes contact, and in fact, with a pinball-like effect, BR4 is sent flying. The Astons have just collided. That looks like Rainbow Energy getting hot on the back of the Genesis here of Pornish Town in the default livery Genesis. A lot of contact made already here in this sprint race. It's Iggy on top from David Sobrero, funny enough, in this RCZ he hates so much. Sick Boy managed to hold on to third, but he's struggling because that looks like El Troca coming up, and he gets a nerf from behind as well. That's a classic bump and run maneuver. I hope that El Troca won't take advantage of the fact that he inadvertently hit the Mercedes in the rear. That is David Sobrero then up ahead, but miles ahead of everybody currently is Iggy. There goes Sick Boy sideways as he made contact with El Troca. Pornish Town got the better of him, and Pornish Town is on the medium tyres and in a good place. We did talk about Sick Boy being on the mediums, but so is Pornish Town. El Troca is on the softs and needing to get a hurry up on this one. Nismo, it seems like, in 6th place, has got a penalty on the car, 1 second to pay next time down the start finish straight, and in fact so has Blue Mosquito, who is quickly passed by Simon on the final corner as they go down the main straight. It's JoeRoyle in 9th, Misco in 10th, Ardio in 11th, obviously suffering big time. There's BR4 trying to get the grunt and power of the Mustang to help him out, and look at this slipstream battle. This is tailgating at its finest with the Mercedes and the Mustang getting both past the very slow Vantage down the main straight, but it's the Vantage trying to take into account its strength in the corners round turn 1. Looks excellent stuff, but that is your order. Rainbow Energy is all over the place, so we've got Vipers topping and tailing this grid. It's Iggy with a 2.9 second lead at the moment. Iggy on soft tyres, so is David Sobrero, but Sick Boy is keeping them honest, certainly keeping second place honest at the moment, and holding within just over a second. There is Sick Boy on the medium tyres, should be much better on later on into the race. And Lee says, let's go. Iggy looked like a Monza T1 than Fuji. Well, it's certainly not the same kind of corner, but they definitely collided in a very similar fashion. You're absolutely right. Pornish Town is in 4th place, enjoying life right now on the medium tyres. Likewise, El Troca, though, on softs, cannot quite keep in touch. We've got JoeRoyle sitting there on soft tyres in the sister Lexus. So Lexus running 5th and 6th at the moment. JoeRoyle taking a hugely wide line into the penultimate corner, and Simon fancying a run up the inside. Simon on medium tyres likewise. So the Aston is going to struggle down the main straights with the poor top speed, but currently the medium tyres should be faring much better as we reach minute 9 to 12 on the clock on the bottom left of your screen. So Iggy, David Sobrero, Sick Boy, El Troca, JoeRoyle, missing out Pornish Town in 4th, JoeRoyle, Simon K, Nismo, BR4 up to 9th now, but some 12 seconds off the lead of Iggy, and he'll be fuming in the cockpit. Didn't really do a lot wrong other than leave the inside door open for both Sick Boy and another driver to come in and try and take him. I think Knobles got involved there too. I'm pretty sure both AMGs collided into the first corner, and that pinball effect ended up knocking BR4 super wide. He'll think twice about giving up the inside in turn 1 in the feature race. I'm sure that we'll have a rolling start, so it should be a little bit fairer for the drivers. Misco in 11th, RDO in 12th, Mr. Berserk in 13th, Blue Mosquito 14th, Rainbow Energy a long way off the grid, was very late to qualifying, and obviously hasn't got a great deal of practice in, but it's Iggy with a 4.1 second lead at the moment. David trying to hang on here to his 2nd place, but Sick Boy gaining about half a second on that previous lap, despite the personal best from David as they stare at the beautiful Mount Fuji and round the Panasonic final corner. It is Iggy on top, still on those soft tyres though. Again, the car's filled to the brim at the start of the sprint race. Is that David Sobrero faking out a pit stop? I think he's just weaving to try and keep the Mercedes out of his slipstream, but he may end up getting criticised for weaving himself. He'll hold the inside line now. It is the dirty side as Sick Boy sweeps round to the outside. David tries to cut off the switchback move here. Sick Boy needs to just time that to perfection, but it's not quite there. He's gaining though through turn 1 and through turn 2. There may be an opportunity. There's a big stop down here into turn 3, the Coca-Cola corner, but it's not quite there for him. Might need to get the job done into turn 10. That's the next really major stop. Turn 6 is quite tight, but it's following a really long corner of 100R. So difficult to stay with the car in front. This now might start to be Sick Boy's advantage here. Of course, the problem he's got is closing in on the final 2 corners. He doesn't quite have the traction with the medium tyres at this stage of the race, though later on he will have better traction. As you can see, getting down into turn 10 and now 13, he's closing down back to within half a second, under 4 tenths now, as they close up closer and closer. Sick Boy with a good run here, just needs to focus on a nice narrow V shape through this corner if he can. And there is a mistake from David, running wide, kicking up the dust. This should hand a massive advantage here to Sick Boy, who's going to get the weaving done. He's going to follow behind as tightly as possible. He's got the top speed advantage over the Peugeot. Oh, they're closing each other off. I would imagine that's a little bit of lag there from Sick Boy, but a nice overtake nonetheless with the power. He got the exit off the final corner. That he forced potentially an error out of David in that final corner exit, and despite David's hardest possible fighting, couldn't make it work. That slipstream has helped Sick Boy to a PB in the first sector, and he's now going to try and get us close up the road to Iggy, but he's lost 5 seconds to Iggy at this stage. David looking very loose on those soft tyres already. Front left limited and heavily worn on the left hand side of the car. It's just going to get worse and worse through the race if he can't narrow down his balance somehow. But it looks like it's the long right hand turns that is killing the Peugeot's tyre wear currently, and they close out sector 2. Let's go back further back in the order. JoeRoyle is in 4th place, and there is BR4, who's managed to get himself up to 5th. My apologies to BR4. We should have really been watching him, but we did just see a battle for a podium position. So he's on the ascendancy, no doubt. He's dispatched El Troca, and he's got JoeRoyle next in his sights. But BR4's tyres well past their best already, and we're only 5 laps deep into this race. It's just over half distance of the sprint, but don't forget, we don't want you to leave us in between the sprint and the feature. But the Mustang is trying to get himself at least up to P4 before the end of this race. So BR4 in 5th. Then we've got El Troca. Pornish Town, some distance back now, has dropped quite a few places, dropped 3 places since the last time we went through the order. Simon is in 8th place, losing out on the straight as usual, but gaining on the corners. There is the Nismo R3 Subaru there is Nismo's Subaru BRZ with the Denso. Well, has he got a sponsor he hasn't got on the car for Nismo, I wonder. Then we've got Knobles back in 10th place at the moment, Mr. Berserk in 11th. RDO at the tail of this gaggle of cars in 12th currently. Blue Mosquito some distance back with, well, Rainbow Energy was with him, but it looks like Mizco just had a bit of an issue there in the sister Peugeot. In 15th place, but Iggy continues to lead this race then, 5.8 seconds. It's not all over, I have to say, because look, David has got back past Sick Boy, and Iggy is not invulnerable. You have to say he's in a good place for sure, but he has made mistakes in the past, so he's not invulnerable. There is another final corner exit problem from David Cabrera, just too early on the power, too greedy with the throttle. And Sick Boy, you can see the lag that he suffered last lap round. He's trying to make the best use of his tyre performance that he can. He'll try to keep the squeeze on the Peugeot, keep him to narrow, but the Peugeot just lifts enough to then take his favoured line through turns 1 and then into turn 2. Might be worth staying with these guys as the rest of the field seem to be condensed slightly You can see David Sobrero's times only getting slower from lap 2, whereas Sick Boy, likewise, actually, his times have been getting slower. In fact, he lost a good 2 seconds on the previous lap, presumably went offline slightly, and has opened out that lead gap at the moment for Iggy. Very, very easy to run wide through the corners here in Fuji. There's such long traction zones. Really does spin the car out. Something chronic. So it's been a number of seasons since Fuji has featured on the calendar here in Monday Tier 1. In fact, it was season 2 when it was last here. None of the drivers today featured on the sprint podium, but Simon got a 2nd place that day. There is David Sobrero, who's almost deliberately taking that high bank line into the final corner and running very, very wide. Will he get the slipstream here on the Mercedes? He's currently not quite there on the top speed. We'll see if JoeRoyle can hold off the Mustang that is getting quicker and quicker and quicker. The Mustang will take a run here. Joe is going to hold the racing line, make sure that the Mustang has to go offline. They'll do it under the brakes. The Mustang often over eggs the braking into the corners, and they touch wing mirrors. The wing mirrors stay on the car, but at least both sides of those cars are white where they touched. Joe taking the switchback route and getting back past PR4. Beautiful racing from the Lexus versus the Mustang. Fantastic racing here as they go side by side once again. And Joe will dive down into turn 6, the official hairpin corner. And they'll still go side by side through 7 and 8. Great stuff here. The Mustang temporarily there on the marbles on the outside. They've got a heavy braking zone down into turn 10 now. Joe trying to hold the inside line. They will touch at the apex, but thankfully no major harm comes to the cars. Through 13 they go now. Riding the curb is Joe, and that was quite a sequence. About 2 sectors of a racetrack side by side from both of them. Fantastic stuff. Whether the BR4 can get sufficiently far away from the Lexus to stop the slipstream is another matter. We've got just over 2 minutes to run this race. This is the Lexus then. How is he looking on top speed? He is slower than the Mustang. I don't think that the slipstream is going to take effect. That is BR4 back up to 4th place, perhaps where he belongs with his name. And it's actually now Sick Boy has extended the gap out to David Sobrero, but not really starting to catch Sick Boy, maybe by about half a second. But with 2 minutes to go, I think that's going to be difficult to make a significant enough dent on the racetrack. It's Iggy up at front by just over 6 seconds, just under 6 seconds as he goes through that sector from Sick Boy and David Sobrero. I think we will have this lap +1 to finish the race. I think we will see 11 racing laps overall. Let's look a bit further down then, because BR4 is starting to gap Joe. El Troca versus Pornish Town should be interesting towards the end of the race here. Pornish Town closing into turn 13. Now it gets really, really technical, this section, where you want to be taking the wider line than your opponent on the way in, narrower on the way out. You can see Pornish Town closing on the back of El Troca. I don't think there's a great deal of top speed difference. A bit of a sideways moment there for Pornish Town might end his hopes here of getting past the Lexus. Pornish Town, yeah, his top speed is good enough to make a decent attempt here on the brakes. El Troca will give him the outside only. It's going to make him go the long way round. We know that they can go side by side here, and that is a heavy braking point there for the Genesis, who runs over the inside curb, has to lift on the way out to avoid getting a penalty, and behind them comes Simon Eltrocker hanging on there. This is now confirmed as the final lap. Let's just check. That's not Iggy up front, is it? No, Iggy is about to close out the lap here. Iggy in the lead of the race, of course, by now 5.8 seconds from Sick Boy. Soft tyres really giving up. You can see the car getting very, very sideways through this final sector. Looks like he's managed to make the softs work just far enough. He'll get an idea of the fuel usage as well. I would say 10 clear laps for half a tank of fuel on the Viper, but Iggy will continue his streak from last week, a double win last week. Iggy will cross the line to win the sprint race tonight and make it 3 on the bounce. Following behind, it will be Sick Boy then in second place, the Peugeot driving David in third. Next up, who will it be? It looks like JoeRoyle got ahead of BR4. Did he? It's going to be a photo finish to the line. 1300ths of a second between BR4 and JoeRoyle. Tremendous stuff to finish that one. That was super close. Pornish Town crosses the line in 6th. Eltrocker some distance back, actually in 7th. Mr. Berserk in 8th. We've got RDO in the Vantage in 9th place. Then Nismo, Simon, Knobles will cross the line in 12th. Rainbow Energy, Blue Mosquito, Mizco have already crossed the line, but it's all about Iggy tonight, who wins our sprint race and his 3rd race on the trot. So bear with us while we just take a short respite here, just before we go for our one-shot qualifying. We just have to rebuild the lobby for a moment, but very soon we will be with you. So don't go anywhere, or if you do, keep the stream running, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes' time. Welcome back, folks. You join us for one-shot qualifying here for the feature race, of course. We have had some issues setting up the server. We're not quite sure what the weather is going to do. I think we're trying to make it random, but and possibly see a bit of rain, but difficult for us to say. I've got an update on the standings for you all, and that means that Iggy extends his lead to now 26 from BR4, who only scored 4 points in that one on 161, cementing that second place though ahead of Sigboy, 10 points ahead of Sigboy, who was on 151. Then comes Mackey's on 137, but closing in is JoeRoyle on 127. We are currently on board with El Trocker, JoeRoyle's teammate. Joe was second out of the pits, but looks to be the first car really going for it. He's on the hard tyres. We've got El Trocker on the hard tyres as well. Should be our order as they go to take the start of this race. We did see previously that using the hard tyres when the car is fat with fuel is generally good, so you can use the mediums or the softs when it is lighter on fuel later in the race. You are there is a mandatory full tank of fuel, I'm led to understand, at the start of every race, so you can't really underfuel the car for a quick stint at the start of the race. Here is JoeRoyle then going through turn 2 successfully so far. This is all about risk versus reward. This one, doing this run, it is of course mightily difficult to get exactly perfect, but you just got to keep driving about 9.5 tenths out of 10 to try and make it work, and make sure that you get a representative time. The worst thing you can do, of course, is to run wide into one of these difficult corners towards the end of the circuit. This is JoeRoyle's lap attempt at the moment, 53.8, his sector 2. Let's just run through the tyres, see if we can find somebody on an option tyre perhaps towards the end of theirs. Well, David Sobrero has gone for the soft tyres. Everybody else is going to start this race on the medium, so I will go and look at David Sobrero very shortly as we see Joe coming through the final corner now. Getting a very nice tight line actually, considering the hard tyres are going to take a while to warm up. He's got some good turning performance out of them, so he heads towards the line now. And I will switch camera because it's not going to tell us much, the onboard, as they go down a main straight. Here comes Joe then to cross the line. That's a 36.566. That beats out his teammate. Here comes Knobles then in the Mercedes AMG. Will he do any better? He does beat Simon, El Trocker. Simon is about to cross the line as well. Simon crosses the line. This is not particularly special time. That doesn't look particularly good, but third place it is as Sigboy goes to cross the line now, and that goes pole, half a second better than JoeRoyle. Sigboy on the hard tyres as well. Nice fair fight between the two of them. Portage Town comes to the line then, and he settles in 7th. Rainbow Energy, I think that will be 8th place for Rainbow Energy, but David Sobrero on the soft tyres. Will this one be pole? Yes, it will, by a further half a second, but only half a second beating out the soft tyres there. On the soft tyres, I should say, beating the hard tyre runners. And in fact, BR4, this time on hard tyres, even better, frankly, beats out Sigboy by 1/100th of a second. And about to cross the line then is our final driver. Is it? It's Mizco. He has crossed the line. And it's BR4 who is given the top time. Okay, I'm slightly confused there. How is David Sobrero in the pits? Has he caused an issue there? Has he glitched out and back in again, I wonder? He did get the fastest time. He's registered as a 35.454, but he seems to have been demoted, maybe for some sort of infraction, or had his lap time deleted. Is that possible? I'm not quite sure why he went into the pits there. But maybe he'll be reinstated. At the moment it's saying BR4, but we know that that David Sobrero did in fact cross the line first, as the boys mess around a little bit prior to the rolling start of our 40-minute race, where we will be underway shortly for you. I will keep an eye on the driver chat, of course. So let's see how the game works this one out. It is the Peugeot 1 front, just a little glitch on the timing there, but it's the David Subaru on pole position for this, the feature race. Remember, 40 minutes on the clock, and away they go then to start the race now. It is a nice gentle rolling start for the drivers. They're just under yellow flag. They will cross the line and light the touch paper and go for it. David Subaru on soft tyres, starts away from pole, gets away from the rolling start nicely there. BR4 though, with a slightly over anticipated, that one has got 1/10 of a second in front. David Subaru down the inside. BR4 does indeed give up the inside once again, but he's under less competition as the cars stream through. Another Aston Martin off the track there, further back in 7th place, and one of the cars was turned round coming into the final corner, managed to get himself back under racing conditions. We've got all the drivers together. Sick Boy is in 3rd place. Iggy has got into 4th place and is holding off currently JoeRoyle's Lexus. Iggy with the inside line, and there is Sick Boy going walking through the door left open to him by BR4, who was presumably late on the brakes once again into the turn 6 hairpin. And Sick Boy away then into 2nd place, but David Subaru on the soft tyres. The other drivers won't necessarily know what tyres he's on unless they're listening in on the stream. There is BR4 getting the overlap all wrong versus Sick Boy, and he gets through. Then BR4 still trying to wrestle the car back under control. In fact, he is dumped to the outside of the circuit, off the momentum, losing ground. BR4 down to 6th now as Iggy, JoeRoyle and Knobles all get past him. He'll be fuming in the cockpit, but he knows the race has got plenty of time to run and come back to his advantage. But Knobles doing well up into P5 now, with his teammate just a few places up ahead in 2nd. That is the Lexus of JoeRoyle trying to catch and use the slipstream of the Viper here. Not quite got the top speed advantage, but certainly you feel like if Iggy made a mistake going into the final corner, he'd be with him. JoeRoyle though is the one making the mistake, and Iggy is nerfed off by both Joe and then passed by BR4, who is enjoying a dose of karma to the positive. Looks like, to me at least, JoeRoyle, he's given up the place there, very sporting. He's given up the place to Iggy on the way in, but Iggy gets turn 3 wrong as well. So some slightly shameful driving from both of them there at that point. In fact, Iggy picks up a penalty running off circuit, and that has made this race very interesting indeed. A bit of a battle going on into the hairpin there for the 2nd Lexus, leading Simon and Portage Town's Genesis as well, but it is in fact Iggy down into 5th place with a half-second penalty that is going to really hurt all the way down the start-finish straight. Even just half a second off throttle is going to hurt his momentum no end. He may even consider giving up the place beforehand so he can try and stay with Joe. Joe runs wide though. Joe wide on the outside of the circuit, lets his teammate get the momentum, stuck on the outside. The Genesis though of Portage Town takes advantage of the gap. Beautiful work there from Portage Town, very circumspect, very alive and awake to any possibilities as JoeRoyle tries to get a move on. They're not going to take advantage of Iggy's slowdown, and look at them jostling for position down the main straight here. They need to really avoid running quite so close together, especially with this lag. El Trucker all over the circuit with that lag. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds himself caught right off the circuit as down the inside goes the 2nd of, wow, we've got major lag going on. The 2nd Viper there of Rainbow Energy gets El Trucker and gets right into the mix. He'll be desperate to get in front of El Trucker, who is, well, barely watchable, frankly. Any car near him, how on earth would they cope with this? Rainbow Energy trying to get himself back on terms. Where will El Trucker find himself? He's still up there in 7th place. David Subaru leads this race, though, as they're on the about halfway round, lap 3. Iggy going wide once again, getting loose, and really struggling to hang on to the tyres here. I have no idea what weather is going to do for us tonight, so I'm as much in the dark as you guys are. So BR4 nice and tidily into 4th place. now trying to catch Knobles in third place. So Mercedes are on second and third. Knobles on the hard tyre. Remember, the only different tyre on the circuit, on the different strategy, is David on the soft tyres for this first stint. Knobles is 3.5 seconds away from his teammate Sickboy. Sickboy himself 4.7 seconds away from David, but Sickboy in the good position here, the lead driver on the hard tyres. Let's see if BR4 will get underneath the Mercedes here using the slipstream. Sky doesn't look altogether clear, does it? Here comes BR4 with a late brake maneuver, gets himself tidily into the apex. Looks like Sickboy ran a little bit wide. It's so easy to do, so easy to switch off on that long straight and mess up your braking into turn one. But BR4 up ahead then, past Knobles, and now eyes focus forward on potentially hunting down Sickboy. There we go and see what Joe and El Trocker look like on track at the moment with El Trocker's current lag. Iggy is in 5th place, recovering well at this stage. JoeRoyle as ahead of his teammate El Trocker. Things seem to have stabilised slightly there. Simon is in 8th place, with Cornish Town in 9th. He slipped back again after doing so well earlier on. Rainbow Energy is in 10th, sideways through turn 10. Leaves the door open potentially here for RDO, and losing control is the Viper, but the Aston Martin getting through successfully. He's in fact going to welcome attention from Blue Mosquito behind as well. Is Rainbow Energy getting so loose on the circuit? He's still on hard tyres, but seemingly can't get any kind of grip on them in the Viper here. May consider an early stop for mediums as soon as the fuel tank will allow him, but it's Blue Mosquito with the getting underneath and using the slipstream here. He could do with a little help from from the Aston Martin ahead of him, because the Viper is strong in a straight line. Had the benefit of the tow on the back of RDO's car, and Genesis of Blue Mosquito gets down the inside again. Rainbow Energy looking a little bit loose into the braking zones, really struggling to hang on to the car. Will he do the same again here? Can he be relied on by the driver on the outside not to understeer wide? But very nicely through goes Blue Mosquito. Perhaps Rainbow Energy just that little bit too cautious now, just needing to find the happy middle ground here between late braking and all over the place and early braking and losing position. But some good fighting down here. We do still have 14 drivers in the field, and they're all pretty tightly packed as well. David Sobrero 5.2 seconds in the lead of the race, but on the soft tyres we know that they are only really good for about 10 laps at decent speed, 11 or 12 at a fading speed. But this is obviously full tank of fuel, so base that off the previous race. That almost looks like a deliberate line from David Sobrero now, running up onto the high banking on the exit of the final corner. A purist would frown upon driving outside of track limits like that. Maybe there's a small advantage to be gained, but Sickboy very much on his own here. Got a 5-second gap front and rear. BR4 is opening his gap out from Knobles in the second Mercedes as well. And we've got headlights on all the cars, so I'm assuming it's getting a little bit overcast, a little bit dark on the circuit. Keep your eyes peeled and shout as soon as you see any kind of rain. Knobles though will be looking behind him here, because Iggy is now catching. It's not been plain sailing for Iggy. He needs to try and continue the streak here. He had a great streak at the start of this championship, then it's all gone away from him a little bit, but starting last week and continuing in the sprint race, things have been going very well indeed. He's building the speed as well in this stint as the initial shine off the hards starts to fade. Iggy around the outside makes a nice line through the corner, trying to get the inside, but Knobles keeping the middle of the road here. Iggy struggling to find a way past comfortably, has to go offline slightly through turn 10, and Knobles with fantastic defense on the inside, just placing his car with great accuracy currently. How long can he keep it up though? And can he delay Iggy to the point? No, he absolutely can't. Knobles on the outside, runs wide through 15, and Iggy through before they even start turn 16, the final corner. That is Iggy away then. Unless that was a deliberate move by Knobles to give up the position, give up the slipstream, so that he could have the slipstream himself. He has got the better top speed here in the Mercedes, and he's catching. I think he's going to get past here. He's going to draw alongside at least as they cross the start-finish line. Knobles side by side with Iggy will have the inside line. How late dare each of them break? They condense down into the corner. Iggy on the outside, the slightly better grip area, and judged to perfection, reclaims that fourth place from Iggy, with Knobles in Knobles in fifth. Sorry, Iggy in fourth, and Joe in sixth place. Currently now on lap 7. Great fighting. Really fair, respectful racing between the drivers there. We've got Knobles trying to get that place back. Fastest lap currently a 35 flat from David. That is on the soft tyres, remember, but fat with fuel. So he needs to try and open his gap as much as possible before the pit window. And of course he will have to run the slower tyre at the end of the race when everyone else is on the quicker tyre. I think that gap might be starting to close slightly at the front. We'll just cycle through, see if there's any action going on here. This is Simon versus El Troca. Simon will be more than well aware that El Troca's connection is causing some issues for making predictable battles on track. Down the start-finish line they go. Start-finish straight they go, I should say, with Portage Town now tucked up behind the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin we know is slow on the straights, and Portage Town should get the overtake done here. Yes, indeed. Already through. Needs to avoid cutting back too early on the Vantage. Down into the braking zone they go. Genesis has got the inside line. The Aston gives it up. And Simon deposed down to 9th place, with Portage Town taking the place. Got Blue Mosquito and RDO battling hammer and tongue here for P10 currently. Blue Mosquito ahead with a PB, Sector 1. Presumably that was with the help of a decent amount of slipstream, and pulling away now from RDO, this sector of the racetrack at least. Mr. Berserk trying to make this Beetle work, but the aerodynamics and the fuel usage so poor on the Beetle. Really difficult to manage. This is the second Viper reserving here tonight, Rainbow Energy, or at least making a rare appearance, I should say, and all over the road there, trying to hold off from Nismo. But David Sobrero's lead, as his times are tumbling, running that wide line, that is absolutely deliberate, can confirm that now. But his gap down to second place, Sick Boy on the hard tyres, now down to 1.5 seconds. So Sick Boy is reeling him in with very steady pace here. He's opened out a near 7-second gap to the driver behind. BR4 with a 1:35.1 is only 1/10 away from the fastest lap of this race on hard tyres as well. On the soft tyres the fastest lap was done. Sick Boy on the hards, and then we've got the rest of the field post-podium here, with a nice tight battle, although you have to fancy that Iggy will start to bring himself into contention for that podium very soon, as he usually does. JoeRoyle having a good race in P5. Just getting slightly sideways through turn 3, Coca-Cola. It is very difficult. This is the 100R, perhaps one of the most challenging corners to get exactly right on the calendar. The 100R. Then into the hairpin at turn 6. Nothing really happening for Knobles, El Troca, Simon. Blue Mosquito versus Portage Town versus RDO is where we will focus right now, though. Blue Mosquito ahead at this stage. But remember, RDO will have the benefit of the better cornering ability in the Aston Martin through this middle and final sector at least, before they have to go down the long straight. RDO taking the super wide line. He needs to be careful not to get too much onto those marbles. In fact, I think he might have done just that. Tried to go for the outside-inside move, but perhaps losing too much grip. Here comes Portage Town versus the Genesis, I should say, at loggerheads here. They might do well just to assist each other rather than fight too hard if their battle is about beating Aston Martin. Look at the slipstream as we get a great view of the speed differential between the two cars. Of course, they're completely identical in their balance of power and top speed potential. That was all slipstream done by Portage Town. Well timed, pulled out of the slipstream and didn't really delay each other particularly by fighting under the brakes. So a three-way battle becomes a two-way battle potentially here, and they make sure that their battle is only with each other at this stage of the race. Everybody else more or less on their own. Nismo's being caught here. And Rainbow Energy being caught by Nismo in the final place, but the grid is nice and tight here. And that is, they're back with your leaders then. Sick Boy has now passed David Sobrero for the lead of this race. He managed to get so much better lap time there. David Sobrero down in the 1:37s versus the 35.4 of the last lap from Sick Boy, which included overtaking Sobrero, who I think might be heading into the pits. He is on lap 10. That is the limit for the soft tyres as he tries to get the car stopped. Of course, killed soft tyres are struggling, but will be a while before we see anybody else's pit stops. So David Sobrero will be going for the mother of all undercuts here. He'll need to trust that he can get the car all the way to the end on a full tank of fuel. That should be possible, you fancy. How was his fuel usage there on the car? Can't quite see him at the moment because he's not featuring in our leaderboard, but let's have a quick look at David Sobrero now getting all the fuel put into the car. Currently he got just about half a tank, so shouldn't be a problem getting the car to the end of the race. David Sobrero came out level with the second Viper. It would help him if he could get out ahead of that Viper, and he has done. Onto the hard tyres now. David Sobrero, who has brimmed the tank, so he's taking no chances here to try and get himself back into contention. But of course he can now focus on his lap times alone, while everybody else pretty much on the circuit is battling each other, apart from the lead 2 now of Sick Boy and BR4. So Sick Boy has got an 8-second lead. BR4 has got a 5-second gap to the car behind. And now we will wait for the next pit stops. We're expecting about a 23-second loss plus fuel from the pit stop here at Fuji. Obviously, everyone near VMAX the whole time you're in the pit lane, so it is a very delayed pit lane, very long hold. Obviously nobody else on the hard tyres going for fuel. I think they will run these cars as low as possible, as the Genesis is Genesi. What's the plural of Genesis? Let me know. It'd be even harder to guess what the plural of Hyundai or Hyundai is as well. But into the first corner they go once again, side by side. Very nice. Driving, they're giving a big margin to each other here. Well, frankly, Portage Town just putting a little bit of a squeeze there on his teammate on the way into turn 3, just trying to take his ideal racing line. So the wind still very strong as a headwind down the main straight. Very difficult for the guys to cope with here tonight. Trying to, obviously the slipstream will be pretty powerful if it's already powerful down the main straight, and then you add into the fact that you're protected from a headwind. But it is going to affect overall lap times. Currently the fastest lap is a 35 flat from David in the RCZ, the Peugeot. So how are we looking for potential pit stops to come? Well, we're nearing the halfway point of our feature race, and still some way to go yet for Simon Kay. He's about, what, 2/5 of a tank left, so it might be a splash and dash to the end. And if you can only have to put in a small amount of fuel at the end of the race, that will of course minimize your pit stop to time. So the better fuel economy you can get out of this, the better for your pit stop timing, and therefore your overall race time. Everyone on roughly similar amounts of fuel. RDO's got a good one here. He's probably on more fuel than nearly anybody. Typically for the Beetle, he is stuck on the lowest fuel, under a quarter of a tank now. So almost certainly going to be medium tyres for Mr. Berserk. We've got David then down in 12th, but catching now. You can see his lap time, 37.5, his last lap time, but that's losing a good 3 seconds to his ultimate pace, potentially. Maybe 2 seconds to his best pace, you would imagine, on the hard tyres that they will be. We saw Sick Boy on a 35.1 on the hard tyres, so it's not impossible. So that last lap actually from David could be costing him some places later on. Nismo got a penalty on the car for this lap. His fuel, about a quarter of a tank, just over for Rainbow Energy. Sick Boy just coming up on that quarter of a tank. So very, very equal amounts of fuel left in the cars. Perhaps the Aston Martin slightly more than everybody. Certainly the Beetle slightly less. And that should be how things shake out later on. So we've got Iggy versus JoeRoyle continuing for the battle for the final podium position at the moment. The dirt pickup on the white sections of the Lexus starting to take effect, these marbles. No sign of any weather, negatively anyway. So Joe versus Iggy, fairly evenly matched at this stage. It looks like Iggy just getting the edge, although that final corner exit not exactly what he was wanting. Sick Boy really pumping in the quick times as well. We've got a nice battle developing here, and it's going to get really interesting because a second off the power for the Lexus of El Troca is going to leave him super vulnerable to the pair of Genesis drivers who are going to split the difference, go either side of him. Shades of Hakkinen and Schumacher in Spa as they split the back marker, as it were, in that instance. No shade on El Troca there. In fact, Pornish Town getting himself a little bit, outbraking himself slightly as the fuel is coming off his car. Of course, he's got his teammate on identical fuel, as you would expect. Nice tight racing once again. We've got the leader, second position, then a pair of cars together, then a pair of cars together, and then this triplicate here, the two Genesis and the Lexus. I guess your premium Japanese cars, I suppose. Then another pair of drivers, RDO and Mr. Berserk. RDO seemingly getting ahead of Mr. Berserk now, and starting to catch the tail of this battle. We may end up with a four-way battle here prior to the pit stops, though I'm expecting RDO to go a little bit deeper into the race on fuel. We'll see if it amounts to an entire lap. It may well not amount to an entire lap for RDO, but he will try and make it work if possible, get him the best amount of time on the soft tyres at the end. Of course, if he can't quite make it down to the soft tyres, he will go for the mediums. But slightly crinkled front wing on RDO belies the fact that he's potentially been in a little bit of battling. That looked like Iggy in the pits there off the hard tyres. So Iggy quite early into the pits, fancies a near 15-minute run. I'm assuming that's going to be medium tyres. Let's see where David Sobrero ends up relative to Iggy. I fully expect him to be well ahead. Iggy coming out of the pits now he'll be in dead last position, but with some clear track ahead of him as well, with the rest of the field yet to pit, with the exception of David Sobrero. So that means Sobrero has got a 5.5 second lead over Iggy, who is now out on the circuit. Mr. Berserk and Rainbow Energy are in. Iggy with similar fuel usage to the Beetle, while certainly stopping on the same lap. So Iggy obviously not doing anything to save fuel on this race, and he's gone for the soft tyres. So he's going to try and run a good 15 minutes on the soft tyre. That is on the outside edge of their operating window. Certainly his last 2 laps will be a little bit sketchy. Or is he too stopping this one, I wonder? No, that was definitely his pit lap, the last one. So championship leader well ahead now. Another penalty on the Viper here of Rainbow Energy. Sick Boy is about halfway through this lap. I don't know if his light will come on. I think he might get an extra lap of fuel, lap out of this before he pits. So let's see how that one works out. But in terms of lapped vehicles, it is David Sobrero, Iggy and Knobles currently in the pits. He will drop, I think, down further, but Knobles will go to the back of the grid now. Here is Sick Boy. Will he risk an extra lap? I think he might try an extra lap. I don't know. I might do myself in his shoes. Obviously, he's trying to get himself back on terms after a rough pair of races last week, and this is the best way to do it. Score big in the feature race. Let's see, does he peel into the pits rocking the purple and black helmet Lewis Hamilton replica, and crosses the line? He will go through for another lap. What about the Mustang? He's coming into the pits. The Mustang of BR4 into the pits, in fact had more fuel there than Sick Boy, so maybe pitting to pass here for the undercut, or trying to gain some time on the driver in front of him. JoeRoyle stays out on the Lexus with good fuel usage. Then next in actually comes Simon Kay, who has used way more fuel than his teammate on the hard tyres here. Simon Kay obviously absolutely no coasting to speak of. Looks like one of the Genesis cars has gone in. That is Blue Mosquito, because Pornish Town has stayed out, and RDO has also stayed out, and will be trying, I guess, to try and get the softs to work really nicely for the end of the race. One more lap, or possibly 2 here for RDO. Could be the last driver to stop, but of course while the other drivers are fresh out on softs, it will maximise their chance of getting the undercut done on these drivers. Well, a PB for RDO means he's building the speed at exactly the right point of his race. There's BR4 out of the pits now, ahead of Iggy, ahead of David Sobrero, but not super comfortably. He's got half a tank of fuel on the car. Iggy's got that tiny bit more on the car as well. David Sobrero should perhaps have underfueled this slightly more than he has already. Looking good though for Iggy with a fastest middle sector there. It's getting busy down in the bottom end of the top 10. Knobles ahead then of El Trocker. Blue Mosquito having pitted, stuck down there. We've got some pit stops going on at the front of the field. That must mean that Sick Boy has not pitted. Yes, he has pitted. Excuse me. JoeRoyle's gone past the pits as well. So Sick Boy has pitted and come out of the pits ahead of JoeRoyle. BR4 has not caught Sick Boy by much at all. If anything, that gap has extended. But BR4 has now got mirrors full of Iggy in this battle for the third place on the podium. Iggy's tyres will fade before BR4's. He was the first of the lead runners here to pit, was Iggy. He's well used to handling the softs at the end of their lifespan though, as he did in the feature race. I'm not sure he's quite going to have the ability to overcome Sick Boy's lead, though. Before this one is done, I think JoeRoyle on his way into the pits now, presumably, or is he going to make it another lap out there? He is going to go for another lap. So JoeRoyle will get round to the end of lap, what, 19 before pitting, which would be pretty cool. A 30-minute stint. Sick Boy then still with a 5.1 second gap over BR4. Everybody pitted now apart from Joe. BR4 continuing though to defend against Iggy, opening out the gap slightly here. Iggy starting to get a little bit loose, with BR4 pacing himself to the end of the race. There's about 9 minutes to run of this one before whatever lap we are on will be the last lap at that point. It's one of the closest battles on the field, but I don't think anything's going to happen immediately in that one. I don't want to miss an overtake, but there's a really tight group of drivers here. El Trocker in 7th, Knobles in 8th, Blue Mosquito, RDO, all nice and closely together. Looks like potentially the second Genesis really lost out in that pit sequence. Let's just compare pit times there. Blue Mosquito 2:14, 1:31, 1:34, so a slightly poor lap there, and then Pawnage Town 2:12, 1:31. So just the way that the pit stops have worked, he's ended up losing out to his teammate on the undercut. Blue Mosquito, even with a worse second lap after the pits, still well ahead, and they were nose to tail, if not side by side. With 5% fuel remaining, Joe finally pits. So we'll see where he comes out relative to this group. I think they might get something of an undercut done on Joe. It will be tighter than it was before the pit stops. Joe coming out of the pits just behind David. So Joe still then needing to battle with David to the end of this one, although on much better tyres. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem for Joe. Here is the Genesis using the slipstream on the Mercedes, but it's not enough. He's going to have to get it done in the corners, and a little squeeze on the braking zone. Snap of oversteer for Blue Mosquito. That was potentially just having his braking zone squeezed out of him, maybe. Let me know what your view on that is, as he's now playing defensive, but he gives up the place to RDO, lives to fight another day. But we'll be questioning the tactics of Knobles, whether he was given enough racing room at the corner at the braking point. Here comes RDO then. Oh, he's forced to the outside, down into the turn 6 hairpin. He'll go the long way round with great grip. Look at that, rides the outside curb from RDO. Now side by side as the cars switch into turn 7 and 8. That is very nice driving from RDO. Gets past beautifully. Just as I say that, RDO, come on, what are you doing to me? He just holds on sideways through the grass. Lots of light flashing going on from Blue Mosquito. Really making a nuisance of himself behind Knobles. Whether he's got the top speed advantage, this could be interesting though, because both of these cars will be faster than the Aston Martin going down the start-finish straight. Will they manage to get on terms to all be under contention under the brakes? Aston Martin brakes to the inside, uses the middle of the track. A late dive from Blue Mosquito, tries to have a go, but doesn't quite get the closing speed judged perfectly, and RDO holds on to 8th place there at this stage of the race. Formation flying at the front still, Sick Boy BR4, and now Iggy in 3rd place. Let's go and have a look at Iggy versus Joe. Iggy has opened out a 7.5 second gap here to Joe, despite the fact that they were quite close together. Iggy's pace on the hards is very, very good, very strong here. Sorry, on the soft tyres is strong, but the stint will come to Joe in the next few minutes. You have to expect this is about as far into the race as this is about the tyre deg that Iggy lived with at the end of the race. Still 4 and a bit minutes left to run. Check out the gaps here. 4 seconds between 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd, and then nearly 7 seconds between 3rd and 4th. Another 5 between Joe and 5th place David, because it was Joe versus David earlier on, so Joe getting the better of that one with the better fuel usage. RDO managing to extend the gap there, despite his poor straight line speed. Might be starting to get a distant tow from the Lexus in front, and RDO definitely on the hunt here. A 1,000th of a second PB in sector 1, so almost certainly was getting a tow from the Lexus in front. Just behind him now, still fighting the Blue Mosquito and Knobles. So with 2 and just about 2.5 minutes to run, the leader crosses the line to start lap 23. That is Sick Boy, currently leading by 4.6 seconds. Has got a fastest lap on the board for himself as a 34.0, but Iggy has got a 33.5 on the soft tyres, lighter with fuel than David was earlier on the soft tyres, putting a 1.5 seconds on top with the light fuel run here. So we are closing out in the closing stages of the race, and it looks like BR4, despite a really difficult first race, is making it count in the second one, getting up onto the podium, keeping himself in that championship hunt. Iggy though consolidating with a potential double podium here. I don't want to speak before it's happened, but that is on the cards. His tyres looking really rough on that left front and left rear. Really struggling. When he's turning right, you can see the car wiggling around for grip. Joe potentially here catching him hand over fist, but is it enough before the end of the race? Joe will have these hard tyres, of course, sorry, the soft tyres that are fresher to run with bags more grip than Iggy. He's got a PB of a 33.8. So only 0.3 away from Iggy's fastest lap at this point. I think we will we go for, I think we're going to end up with this lap plus a lap, so I think we're going to get to 26 laps all said and done. This one here is Joe then closing in on that final podium position, bringing the Lexus into contention here. David is well worth a mention. Started at the front, ran the softs, but was caught before the pit stops by Sick Boy. And we had a driver just go into the pits just then. Was that was Simon, was it? No? My eyes deceive me. They must have done. I could have sworn someone was heading into the pits in the background. But yeah, David Sobrero's race perhaps ran those softs that little bit too long. Obviously still got to do a little bit more on this fuel load at the moment, but I think he could have run an extra lap or two on the fuel, and then therefore had been able to put less fuel in at the pit stop. Well, yeah, certainly could have put less fuel in at the pit stop. We are now confirmed on the final lap, and it looks like it's going to be Sick Boy all the way here. He is closing out this race. Sick Boy then weaving down the straight. You don't want to do too much of that, Sick Boy, but Sick Boy will win here in Fuji. He'll win the feature race and take a big step towards bigger points in the final standings. BR4, tremendous race to finish second place as well. Then JoeRoyle has caught and passed Iggy to the line. Has Iggy given him up the slipstream deliberately? Oh, Joe to the line. Great finish. 43 hundredths of the line from Iggy. Well played, both of those drivers, Joe and Iggy, as they get super close. Iggy just couldn't get it done at the end. David Sobrero crosses the line in 5th place. Then we have Simon in 6th in the first and lead Aston Martin. Leading home, RDO, who got the car down into 7th place. Good night for Aston Martin. Then there's El Trocker in the lagging Lexus. Then we have Knobles in the AMG. 1st and 9th for Mercedes tonight. Not amazing, but biggest points, I imagine, out of everybody. Cornish Town crosses the line next to, appropriately enough, his teammate. He got the nod ahead of his teammate though tonight. Cornish Town in 10th. Blue Mosquito 11th. Then comes Mr. Berserk in the thirsty Beetle. Rainbow Energy was lapped, has already crossed the line, but Sick Boy is your winner tonight in the feature race. 2 rounds to go. And it looks to be now a 3-horse race between, I think, Iggy, BR4, and your race winner tonight, Sick Boy, who will tackle this championship with 2 weeks to run. That is 4 races to go. Hope you've been enjoying it with us. Do leave a like on the video before departing, and a follow on the subscription there on YouTube. If you want to follow my commentary, please do so, and that is at Webo Red 5. At Webo Red 5 on most socials. You'll find me, and there you see Sick Boy, who takes home the W tonight. I've got the new standings apparently. RDO, king of standings, the fastest standings I've ever encountered. That will help you out a little bit. So that shows us that it is Iggy on top on 206, now a 23-point lead ahead of BR4 on 183. Then comes Sick Boy on 176 with this win tonight. Tremendous work. Then we've got Mackies and Joe. Joe catching now only 14 away from Mackies. Simon, and sorry, just with Joe's points, those are the only ones I can give you. I will see if I can get a line from our winner before I leave you, but please make sure you're doing all the right things on the video for us. Let's see. So really impressive and enjoyable race there tonight. Hope you enjoy it. RDO is looking forward to a race with some to be able to race with a car with decent top line speed. Sick Boy would actually like to join a party, so I'd be happy to talk to him. Just try and give you any feedback I can here. We've got Rainbow said he did the worst choice of his life and put softs at the end. But Simon reminding him that's pretty much what everybody else did. So we're hoping to hear from Sick Boy. I think it might take a little bit too long to get a party organised tonight. I'll try and get that sorted for another week. But just giving you some of the best of the driver chat as well. Audio saying there's no need for Pornish Town to apologise for anything on track. He had a good laugh when he spun in front of him. And he was depressed, Audio depressed, sitting behind the Hyundais there towards the end of the race. So I'm just going to hang on a second to see if we can hear from our winner in some regard. But like I say, the should be a three-way battle for the championship now. The Season 5 title here at Monday Tier 1 for the drivers. RDO is apologising. Why are you apologising? Have you sent the wrong standings or something? Have you embarrassed me? Let's wait and see. BR4 a little bit rankled about a lack of cleanliness on the circuit, and looks like Sick Boy telling me he's going to write a message, but maybe that's not coming too quickly. If he does, I will let you know in the description or the chat or something. But I think we might be trying everybody's patience a little bit too long now to finish this one off. But GG's to our podium, and congratulations to Joe as well for holding off Iggy right at the very death of the race and evening. But an enjoyable night. Hope you've enjoyed being with us. We've certainly enjoyed having you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're watching all the videos each week. But most importantly of all, tune in this time next week for the penultimate round of the championship. I've been Webbo. This has been ALR's Monday Tier 1 Round 6 at Fuji. And from all of us involved, we will catch you on the next race day.